Where do you think we are in terms of jiu-jitsu in our teaching approach? I don't want to call it ecological approach because that could evolve into something else. Where are we? Are we in the toddler phase of this? Where are we in a community, do you feel? Is it early days or what?
So I was a part of, SPG, yeah. So I left 2018. I think SPG and Matt Thornton was pretty close, let's say, because they were using aliveness, energy, motion, whatever the third one, timing, yeah. The progressive resistance, everything that I did came from that mainly. I'm grateful, but there was still something missing. So I always feel like they missed their opportunity. But also when Matt talked about it, the aliveness and stuff, some people got it, like we were like, oh shit, it's interesting, For many people, it went over the head because I think also it was missed opportunity because maybe it was too much attached to one person like Matt, He talked about aliveness, and if it's his thing, so to speak, then maybe some people have issues, Okay, we can read about it. This is a science, and this is maybe Matt Thornton's interpretation of it. But you can also read it, science is pretty old, since 85, I think. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity because that maybe somebody even knew about it, but even I know Adam Singer, I think even he has changed to doing more constrained approach. As much as I understand, the aliveness method wasn't completely there, but we were close. But still, it sounds always like a joke when I say half an hour warm up, 3 techniques out of your ass, and then you spar. It sounds almost like a joke, but there's gyms that train this way. And in that sense, I would say right now with this constrained approach, what I feel at least, and this is me not knowing everything at the moment, that I feel it's like almost like aliveness 2.0. Now it's like the same what Matt tried to do. Now actually Greg Souders is doing it. And still attached to Greg, but it's also there's science, there's books, and it's not attached to Greg, but just Greg has done it for longest. But I really feel of that training that maybe what Matt wanted to tell people. I think this time the shock wave has gone deeper. And I don't know, what those gyms did before, that the gyms that changed now for a constrained approach, what approach they were. Maybe they were close to that approach already like I did, and then they just switched a bit. Or maybe, I don't know how many of those gyms were like totally like 3 techniques out of your ass and now we do constraints, And now I feel it's like, it's more talk about, how we should coach and train and everything else. And I feel it's better. But compared to, I think, what's going on in the world, I think still majority seems to be still, I'm a black belt, I know what I'm doing, Somehow it's very hard for people to understand if you're black belt of doing, you're not black belt of actually teaching. And somehow this is very controversial. People get mad when this is brought up and you're a black belt. But I would say, yeah, you're infant when it comes to teaching maybe. So just why is that bad? You're good at doing this. That's clearly you're a black belt. But why do you think you're good at teaching, And obviously they then end up teaching, explaining super technically everything, all the mistakes like you shouldn't do. And for them, it sounds logical, but only because they haven't read some books and watched some podcasts. So I think when that mentality is still there, that I know, and I get a black belt, I open a gym and I just can do it. And it seems like there's still, I don't know, I would say over 50% gyms are still maybe doing some kind of older method. And also, I guess the criticism toward Eco is those guys are still producing champions. That, how many champions that Greg Souders has done, So we'll see what this movement brings. When somebody says, oh, this old method and also produced a lot of champions. Yeah, if you have 1,000 people, you will have 10 world champions maybe, And if you just have some people like, poor neighborhood just coming in, doing jiu-jitsu and young kids, they will produce world champions because there's nothing to do there. You know what I mean? Some Brazilian stories and stuff. But we'll see how this method helps to bring clubs up and how it changes because it's still, like early days of this method, maybe a year. We changed in August, but it's, for Greg, he's done it longer. So these early days, and we'll see what the next year will do and how the eco gyms are doing. Maybe they're keeping students, maybe there's some more competition results are better, overall. Maybe because of eco, we bring more beginners to the competitions because they're sparring right away from first day one. And we'll see what kind of effect it is. Because I understand also the criticism, how many champions you're produced. It's somewhat a silly question, but it's also in somewhat legit. I think it's like a cultural change, but it will take maybe a generation, It could take 10, 20 years that when this torch is passed and then some new gyms are coming up and then 20 years it's weeded out by other gyms. So I don't think it happens fast. I think it happens in a generation.